If you haven't grown plants from seed before, it can be a little daunting, but watching those tiny seeds flourish can be one of the most rewarding garden experiences. It's almost magical. I have grown flowers from seed before, but this year I'm going to have a go at growing some of my favourite vegetables. March is a perfect time to start planning the year ahead in the garden, and that begins with deciding what you're going to sow and when you're going to sow them. There are loads of vegetables that you can sow indoors in early spring. Starting your planting earlier will give you a head start so you get even better harvests in the summer. Join me as I show you how you can easily start growing your own beautiful veggies like peppers, artichoke and even tomatoes from seed at home. It's a little bit early to be growing seeds in the ground outside, so today I'm going to focus on what I can grow indoors that needs a little bit of warmth to germinate, either on a sunny windowsill or in a warm conservatory. I've enjoyed looking at all the different varieties and I'm excited about harvesting and eating the vegetables in the coming months. First up, I've gone for these classic cherry red tomatoes. I absolutely love eating cherry tomatoes and these homegrown ones are going to be really sweet and I can't wait to try them in early summer. One of the things I'm really keen to do is grow vegetables that we can't normally buy in a supermarket. I really love artichokes and they're also really beautiful plants so they'll make a lovely addition to the garden. If there's any left, I'll also be able to marinate them and eat them over the winter. Another tomato I'm going to try is this heritage variety. They're very rare to find in supermarkets and they're known for their exceptional taste, so they'll be absolutely delicious in salads. Next up, I've selected these baby jack aubergines. These cute mini aubergines or eggplants grow in small clusters, so they're great for smaller spaces. Finally, I'm going to try these sweet peppers. I use these all the time in cooking. Unfortunately, my kids absolutely hate peppers, but I'm hoping that if they see them grow at home, they might actually give them a try. If you want to start sowing your seeds in March, you'll want a range of different containers. These seed trays are ideal because they come with their own little individual pots. They have some drainage holes in the bottom and they come with a little tray so you can put your pots in there and the water won't drip all over your surfaces, and then they come with their own lid, and the lid is there to maintain the temperature and also keep the soil nice and moist. But if you haven't got seed trays, these food containers are excellent. You'll just want to make sure that you clean them really thoroughly. This is from some sausages and some chicken and got a hummus pot here. And I've just made some little holes in the bottom. And then instead of a lid, what I'll use is some cling film or some freezer bags, and that will act just as well. In my pots, I've used a multi-purpose peat-free compost, and I've used a soil sieve to lighten the mix. You can use a kitchen sieve, but the holes will be really tiny and it might take a long time, so I would recommend using a soil sieve if you can get your hands on one. We want our seeds to be nice and snug, so I've overfilled the pots, compacted the soil down and then added another layer on top. Right, now it's time to get sowing. So first up, I'm going to do these artichoke seeds. Now these are quite large, so I'm going to sow them out individually. So in each one of these little pots, I'm just going to place one seed in the middle on top. And then I'm going to add a thin layer of compost to the top. For smaller seeds like these cherry tomatoes, you'll want to scatter them across the surface, but make sure you spread them quite thinly. Now my heritage tomato seeds, I'm going to do these individually, place on top. Can't wait to try these in the summer. I'm not sure if I've ever tried heritage tomatoes before, so I'll have no comparison, but I'm sure they'll be absolutely delicious. Now our baby jack aubergines, I'll just place on top. I've heard lots about how great these are for small spaces, so even if you've got a balcony or a tiny garden, these is a perfect seed to try from growing from scratch. Got a couple more there. I'm just gonna pop those back in the packet and they should be okay for next year. Last but not least, my sweet red peppers. I've got quite a lot of these seeds, so what I don't sow today, I'll sow in the next few weeks, and that'll mean I can harvest my peppers for longer over the summer. Most of the seeds I'm using today are quite easy to handle. Some seeds are absolutely tiny, and but the scattering method will work for those ones. So yeah, I'm just going to pop that back in there, and make sure we pop it back in there as well, so I know what they are. So my seed trays are all ready, and now I'm going to give them a lovely good drink. And we're using this watering can with the rose, and that'll just help to add the water on in a gentle layer so as not to disturb our seeds in their snug little beds. And we'll probably not have to water them again before they germinate, but it's worth just keeping an eye on the soil and making sure it's not dried out. So now we're going to add our labels. I always think I'm going to remember what seeds are, but I know I'll forget, so I'll write it down. You'll also want to add the date to the back, so you know when you sowed them. I'm going to pop these inside in our heated conservatory. It faces southwest, so they'll be nice and warm in there. You'll want to keep an eye on your seed trays to make sure the soil isn't drying out, and also spot any signs of germination. So it's been 3 weeks since I planted out my seedlings, and as you can see, they're looking pretty good. There's been a few that haven't come up, but that's totally normal. Don't need to worry about it. We're never going to get 100% of our seeds coming up. As you can see here, there's a couple of peppers that haven't come up and a few of the aubergines, but generally they're looking really good. As you can see with these cherry tomatoes, we've got a really healthy tray of growth here. The heritage tomatoes, they've all come up. They are looking a bit leggy, and that's because in the UK we don't get that many hours of daylight in spring. We don't need to worry about that. What I can do is when I plant them outside in the greenhouse, I'm going to bury some of the stems, and tomatoes are one of the rare plants where the stems will root. So once we bury some of that stem, it'll stop them being leggy. Also, a couple of weeks after I planted these, I've started a second batch. So I've got these peppers, and I've got some aubergine and also another tray of artichokes, and that's going to mean that I can keep my harvest going for longer through the summer. It'll be a few weeks before they're ready to move outside, so subscribe so you can see how they're getting on in a future video. If you want to make great compost at home but you don't know where to start, check out this video now.